You take electricity from the batteries to make your light bulb glow in the house. Yeah.
So then during the day, you're just using like the outside light or something?
Yeah, during the day, how much electricity do you really need? Maybe you're running your fridge, you can probably do that with some direct current.
Okay.
But, you know, for all the lighting and to keep your fridge running in the long term, you've got to have some backup electricity. So people who are off the grid have a bunch of batteries somewhere in the system. Boats, like sailboats that have electricity, if they're not burning diesel, they're doing this. My Toyota Tacoma has a solar panel, has one little battery in the back, and that battery is big enough to charge my iPad, and my wife's Kindle, and my headlamp batteries, and my flash, and my camera. So I live my whole summer from one little tiny battery. Yo, bro.
Well, what happens like when the battery dies?
You are out of Hugo.
So.
Oh, you mean when your battery goes bad?
Yeah, I mean.
You throw it on the freeway and buy another one.
Yeah. Aren't we just going to run out of stuff, materials to make batteries one day?
That's why this is totally played out. Nobody does this unless it's the only option. In my truck, I can't get on grid. On a sailboat, it is literally the only option. So we go through batteries, but batteries have some downsides that everybody must know. They are dangerous, they are inefficient, and they don't last forever.
Oh, they're expensive.
They're expensive, yeah. So dangerous, inefficient, expensive, and inherently disposable. You guys know that whenever I'm forced to have like a fake identity on a website, I name myself disposable?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Are we making like
We're making better batteries, we're making less dangerous, more efficient, less expensive, and reusable batteries. But the bottom line is, those are fundamental issues being off the grid. New batteries are addressing all four of those bullets. But they still have all four of those issues, just less so over time. Now, yes?
Wait, do you think possible we could ever like find a reusable like
No. It's awful. There is no free lunch, my friend.
What if you have like one microorganism that could
What if you had leprechauns that would grant all your wishes?
Okay.
Still no!
Okay. I'll just kill all my dreams.
Yes.
And just go be you.
Yes. Yes. And grow a beard. Okay. You be quiet. Now me. You be quiet. How many of you have solar panels at home?
Yeah.
My hunch is almost every one of you has one of these systems. They're called on-grid, meaning, please be quiet, too many noises. I'm sorry, this is important information. Some kids need this. On-grid is by far the most common. We have the solar panel. We have the grid, like the electricity network, like all the wires and the poles and the guy with the helmet. That guy. And at night, you don't drain batteries. At night, you take electricity from the grid. During the day, your extra electricity is sold to the electrical utility. So there's no actual storage. And boys, please be quiet. For some students, this is important. I'm glad you don't need it, but please be quiet. The critical point of on-grid solar systems is the electricity never gets stored anywhere. You sell the electrical service electricity, then that's going to be used at that split second. Your neighbor who doesn't have solar power usually gets your electricity, literally right next door. Like your solar panels, all the leftover electricity for your house is going to your neighbor. And then at night, when you can't produce electricity, you suck energy off the grid like everybody else. The funny thing is, because you're never transforming electricity to chemicals and back, this is more efficient. In total, you're using more of the electricity and wasting less of heat. This is more efficient. This is safer. It's cheaper. You don't have to buy batteries. You don't have to maintain batteries. You don't have to replace batteries. And there's nothing to wear out. So this lasts longer. It is the exact opposite of batteries. Did anybody here have an electrical bill with a negative amount? What happened at her house is they sold more electricity than they used. So please look up. There's this thing on the side of your house called an electrical meter. It has a little disc that spins, or nowadays a little screen where the number keeps growing. That's how much electricity you're using in kilowatt hours. Now, at her house, that number goes backward because electricity is leaving to the grid. And if they don't use as much money as the electrical company sells them electricity, they've given Edison more electricity than they took from Edison. Edison owes her money. She gets paid by Edison instead of paying Edison. Technically, you just get like a balance sheet that tells you like, hey, just so you know, we give you a credit. But you don't actually get a check in the mail.
But then you get free electricity.
But that's a credit, right?
Yeah,
So in the winter when the days are shorter, you eat into your credit. Here's a funny little detail. Just so you know, when you're producing electricity, you count as a wholesaler. So you're selling it at wholesale price. Then when you use it, you count as a consumer, so you're buying it at retail. So the funny thing is, Edison still makes money off you. They buy it for 10 cents and they sell it to you for 20 cents. So your credit is this, but they still charge you that. It is a funny coincidence. The bank never loses. Remember that. Everybody like my photovoltaic explanation? On-grid, off-grid, comparison of on-grid, off-grid? Yes?
How would it work if everyone was like on-grid and had solar panels? Would you still need electricity for like nighttime?
Yeah, that's right. So the funny thing is, sun don't shine at night, and everybody's still on the grid, so everybody still needs fossil fuel electricity. The other thing is, though, that peak usage of electricity is usually when the sun's at its hottest. Most intense, I mean. Because the biggest drain on electricity in the U.S. is air conditioning. And you know if people are using air conditioning, it's pretty effing sunny. So instead of having the maximum capacity reached by turning on another fossil fuel plant, you can now reach maximum capacity for free, environmentally speaking. So the background, nighttime fill-in still has to be fossil fuels because those you can switch on and off if people need it. But a majority of the budget in their neighborhoods is being provided by local generation, not a distant power plant. Yeah.
So sometimes when the moon is really bright, we'll make water changes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You get some reflected off the moon? That's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, really curious about that.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. There's one other thing that I've got to show you about solar power, and that's a completely different plan. There's Plan B. Photovoltaic was Plan A. Now look at B. It's called solar thermal. And this is really exciting. This is like the future of solar. I saw one of these actually. He does? That's pretty exciting. If you guys see sleazy pictures on here, I apologize in advance. Okay. Oh, am I not live? There we go. Check it out. Those two towers, I just saw them in the Mojave. Right on the border between California and Nevada, like at the physical border. Like you go, California, and it's like right there.
The picture didn't change.
These, well, it didn't. These are two towers. You may be able to see, I don't know why it's not zooming up there.
But that's not in the right picture.
It's really weird. But whatever.
Thanks, Apple.
Okay, yeah. Apple's sticking it to me again. What you may be able to see at the top of the tower is a very dark section. And then in that field, you see some shiny stuff. Doesn't show. That shiny stuff right there.
Yeah.
That shiny stuff is a whole bunch of mirrors. Those mirrors move. They follow the sun.
Oh,
And they reflect sunlight from the source all day long up at that black spot. And they focus a lot of sunlight. So this is going to boggle your mind. Usually they use either petroleum or salt, and they use that solar light in a black container to make it extremely hot. Salt becomes liquid at 2,000 to 3,000 degrees, depending on the type of salt. So you get a solid block of salt, superheated to like 2,000 to 3,000 degrees, and then you use molten salt.
This is the
as the heat source to make the steam that spins the turbine to make electricity. One thing about this, there's one reason why this is the future of solar power, and one reason only. You can't store electricity and you can't store sunlight, but you can store hot stuff. Like heat stays hot. If you put it in a giant thermos, like a big insulated underground vault, you can take your 3,000 degree salt, put it in a big old tank, and in the middle of the night when somebody wants to switch on the lights or watch the Gilmore Girls, they can use the solar heat from noon that day to keep making electricity all night long until the sun comes out tomorrow. This is all day and the extreme engineering challenges all year long. Using sunlight to make the heat source to make steam and spin turbines.
What do they do about the molten salt, like dissolving things?
I reckon that they must have really fancy materials, and BP does. Almost all power plants have giant generators that run on raw petroleum, like really low-grade tanker fuel. So you probably need to jumpstart the heating with some fossil fuels. This isn't carbon zero. It's very, very low carbon. You know, the dried salt doesn't flow.
Yeah.
So I'll bet you need like a jump start of heat. Yeah, somewhere in the system.
Well, the only reason for the molten salt is to make the energy storable. But like, if we don't need to store it necessarily, wouldn't it be more efficient to just treat the water with the mirrors?
Yeah, the reason is that water has to pressurized, and you got to get the water extremely